Welcome to TRS Clips, where you'll find happiness through your own curiosity. We were talking about the current government and their economic performance in general. So you scan the last 10 years. It's not as good as the Modi government would claim that it is.
Yes.
And it's definitely not as bad as, I love you Dhruv, but as Dhruv Rathi would claim it is.
Right.
Right? And
Yeah.
I'm using the name Dhruv Rathi because honestly, his page has exploded on the Indian internet in the last 1 year. And kudos to his bravery, kudos to him putting his opinion out. But I've heard other YouTubers say this behind closed doors as well, that not all the facts and figures that Dhruv presents are completely accurate. There could be some level of confirmation bias. And I hate calling this anti-BJP side of the spectrum the Dhruv Rathi spectrum, but I almost call it that out of respect for him, because he's the only guy who's publicly...
Well, there are others, but I think that's a very important phenomenon which is happening, which I think is a good thing for, at some level, this is good for Indian democracy, right? Because if the entire mainstream media is being sort of, controlled by the government and its narrative, at least it's good that these alternatives are sprouting there.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes a democracy. So it's, as I said, it's Dhruv Rathi, it's Ravish Kumar, it's all these YouTubers who, in terms of who have come and done that. So at least that's as I said, that at least for Indian democracy, I feel that that's a positive. Imagine just hearing one narrative. That would be a terrible thing.
And what's the difference between us and North Korea?
Yeah, exactly. So,
At least from a media perspective.
that's right. So you want alternative narratives. You want that to happen. And the problem I find is that often that when you try and say something nuanced, both sides hate you.
Yeah.
So
I do believe that's changing. So I think there is a market for nuanced conversation to be had.
right.
It's why I have a bit of a career now
Right.
from that perspective
Exactly. Yeah.
as well.
So there's a demand for something different. Otherwise, in terms of seeing the news channels and seeing the same people fight with each other, but being made to fight and yet have anchors who are very biased.
Do you still watch Indian news?
No, absolutely not.
I know for a fact that you probably hang out with like the smartest people, the cream of the crop. Do they watch the news?
I think that everybody wants to watch the news, but I think they've quite put off by what they see on television, to be honest. So I think that's at least the people that I sort of speak to, I think that if they watch it, they do it secretly because no one wants to admit to it anymore, because it's become sort of that, crass at some level.
If you meet someone who says that they watch the news regularly, what do you make of their opinions?
I'd say that people, in terms of, I don't see too many people who say that, but I'd say that now it depends what's news, as I said, that the form of news has changed. When my travels now, so many people consume their news through social media. They don't consume the news. We grew up as a generation when news for us meant watching a 9 o'clock news where someone told you in half an hour that this is what's going, this is what's happening across India and the world. That's the news that we grew up on. It's dramatically changed today. People today sort of are consuming news in this very shorter things. They're getting stuff from social media. People are posting all sorts of stuff there. And, people aren't going the traditional way in terms of how they are watching the news. So there's a massive shift as far as the media is concerned. But even in the media, there are, let's also call out people who are trying to do it like in a neutral way. Like there are newspapers such as, like even the Indian Express, which are trying to do things in a like neutral way in terms of that. In terms of in India for the last 30 years, I've written for the Times of India on its, edit page and stuff like that. I still write roughly what I feel like and stuff. So there are still pockets out there where you can do the right stuff. But I think in general, the big disappointment is the fact that on TV news, if you watch it, that feels as if it's just very biased and, it's very propaganda based mostly. But even on TV news, there are a couple of anchors who try and do something different. But
Feel free to drop names.
No, I'd say that people I'd say like on India Today TV, for example, you have people like Rajdeep and Rahul Kanwal and all who try and sort of, present something a bit different. So those are people I'm happy having conversations with as well when I can.
How do they feel about the same conversation about TV news?
I think that everyone knows what's happening deep down, but I think that there are lots of people who are trying to present some balance. And my, of course, respect is huge for people like Prannoy and Radhika Roy, that even after they sort of, had to part with NDTV, they have launched their own platform now, like called Decoder, where they are putting out very data-based election coverage. So you can go there, you can have a look at the data, and you can make up your mind. Okay, this is right, this is not right. So I think that there are pockets of that happening, and I feel very good about that's still happening. So I tend to be a bit more optimistic. Let's put it this way. So when I meet people, I know that, like I can feel a lot of despair, especially among my liberal friends about about the state of this country. And sometimes it consumes me too. I also get very depressed, especially when something happens to some close friends of mine and they're targeted, like by the agencies and stuff. It really depresses me, to be honest. But at least the fact that these, people are there with the spirit, with the courage to say stuff, to do that and provide a balance, I think is, like great, and something which I still have hope for as far as the country is concerned.
Okay. As far as the country is concerned, the truth lies in the numbers.
Okay. Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah, but I say that numbers, but also in terms of a feeling for it. Like you experience it and stuff.
Hey, if you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out all the other clips we've uploaded on this channel. You'll find a clip related to almost every single topic as long as you're willing to search for it.